It strikes me as odd to welcome you to the mind of James without at least once having invited you to the heart of James. I've been told recently and on several occasions that I I just wander off when I speak to people face to face. I have been told by several people this, that I don't actually connect with them when I talk about the things that I'm passionate about. Perhaps this is why I've been trying to podcast. Um, I don't really know, but it's clear that whatever I do speak about, it's because I'm passionate and I feel and I have much to express. And the things that I'm expressing are just fascinations about the world around me and the connections that I seem to be able to make um, when I do observe this world, which inhabits the very people that I find embody these connections. And so I am very much a person of the heart as much as I am a person of the mind. I just I feel as if though maybe it's because I'm so swept away with the um, observing part of life that I don't actually live those very same parts of life, which translated in the actual moment of when I'm speaking to the people who have told me this, that I'm very distant and I don't connect. Well, that basically means that I want to connect and I am, or at least should be trying to, um, not just observe the moment that I'm living with them, but rather live it. And I'm not so sure that I know how to do that as much anymore. So I think the first step is to recognize it and to understand it. I know that I don't have the inability to connect to people. This is wild to even think, because I think over time I've been hurt many times over when I did connect to people, um, and so I don't do it as often, and I don't do it so freely anymore. I try to gauge how much trust I should put into people before I actually live alongside them and risk my own emotions. Um, so I've sort of found a loop, I guess, which sort of loop within which I can have my cake and eat it too. I can go off and live the emotional passion that I do by being mind blown by the observations that I make about the universe and the understandings um, of my relationships and friends and that sort of thing, while keeping that position of the observer and so staying safe at the same time. But this ultimately is proven to fail me, as people on their side need more than that. If I'm to build a sort of friendship or a relationship of any kind. So, this, on the one hand, is very good news because it's not like I have to go and, let's say, undo a bad habit or destroy something that is negative in my life. In fact, it's something positive that I have to go and build, which is something that should be very um, welcoming. I should welcome it. It's it should be a lot of inspiration that comes from that kind of realization. Because ultimately speaking, even though it means that I have to risk being hurt and have some kind of pain involved, I've learned enough in my life to know that that pain is exactly the reason for why it makes anything worth living, and pleasure comes along with it, which I'm proud to say that I do, and I have done it. I just don't do it as much as I used to, and I fear that getting old is synonymous with being jaded because people just do that less. They go out and they live lives that are more detached because they can only handle a certain amount of passion. But I don't want to live like that. I want to live in the opposite direction. I want to continue being more and more passionate and live those passions rather than just observe them. Um, so I'm going to make a very conscious effort to do that going forward, which is to basically, you know, go and experience the things without thinking about them or without observing them. Um, just when I have a conversation or an experience, I want to focus on the sensations that I get while I'm living out those experiences, rather than analyze them with my mind and seek patterns. Uh, I think it's definitely something that I have to put aside and let my heart take over and just dance to those patterns and explore those sensations. So, this is the kind of introspection that's going on in my heart right now. And I feel as if though I need to dig a little bit deeper and find out why it is that I've come to be that kind of person who really is more of a an observer rather than a liver. Which is strange because I do live. It's just, like I said, not as much. And so I think I'm not only exploring my own sort of devolved path to being jaded, I think I'm exploring why humans in general devolve into a jaded sense of life. And one of the reasons would be obviously um, faith, some kind of um, belief beyond belief that life is worth living. Um, this is in some way, I guess, of course, tied to your worldview as to purpose and meaning. And these are all things that I philosophize about on a daily basis. So I won't get into it this time because, as much as I realize that I have to go with my heart, um, going forward, I feel like I need to do it immediately while I'm actually introspective about the fact that I don't usually lead life with my heart. So, um, how exactly is it that I've come to become like this and sort of detached? And I think one of those reasons is the very fact that I have been philosophizing. It's just I go so far. The way I like to put it is I like to go to the edge of the universe. Um, and if I want to take even further, because that's what I like to do, I like to go to the edge of existence. If I go all the way out there with the reaches of my mind, and then turn around to observe the entire universe, it's very difficult to formulate any kind of story or pattern within which I can place myself and create any sort of meaning or purpose. So it's kind of like the observer effect. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. If you measure a particle, you cannot simultaneously know its position as well as its speed. It's either one or the other. And so it seems that I've fallen into that pit where I really observe only the position of my own life, but never the speed of my own life. I just look at the patterns of things that are going around me, and so I can see my position in the universe, but my position is fixed. There's no speed to it. There's no movement. I'm not living the very things that I've observed about the position within which I hold in the universe. So, yeah, that's brought me to become quite cynical, more than I'd like to admit. And tonight I actually read a poem slash